Shockingly, today I have built another house in The Sims for you. So let's just start that speed build, shall we? So this time I tried to build a base game mansion in The Sims 4, and I guess maybe mansion is a bit of a strong word because it's only on a 30 by 20 lot, but in my head, this house is very grand and very fancy, and it's also very expensive. Like, I picture this house being like a $1 or $2 million house in like a really fancy neighborhood somewhere. You know, it's an expensive one, but it's beautiful on the inside. It kind of has that older colonial style. It's a big brick house, but I spent a lot of time and effort trying to make the inside of the house very detailed. Like, I made a lot of attempts to have like a really beautiful lived in, like very detailed looking family home that sort of seems like a family actually lives here. And while it is base game only, it doesn't seem like a base game house. And I always say that, like, disclaimer when I make base game builds, just because I think a lot of people, not me, like, I build a lot of base game builds, they're never like lacking, I don't think, but I also think a lot of people think that if they only have the base game, they can't make nice buildings, and that's just not true. Like, there's a lot of really awesome things in the base game, and you can make really cool houses with just the base game. The only problem is that sometimes you might have like a certain vision or a certain style in mind that the base game doesn't have. Like, if you wanted to make a Tudor house, for example, obviously, you know, like Get Together has way more options when it comes to that kind of thing than the base game does, but you can still make really cool things with just the base game. Exhibit A with this house right here. Now, I will say this house, I made it base game only so it would be more playable for you, like so you could more easily download it and actually use it in your game. And then I also made it extremely expensive by accident. So it's not like the most playable house ever. You know, I've done better. I've made more playable, more affordable houses in my day, but you know what? That's fine. It's a nice house. And so what if it's expensive? It's fancy. I spent a ton of time working on the outside of this house too, because I wanted to have like a really nice backyard. Basically, I saw this inspiration picture online of this beautiful house, sort of similar in style, like a big brick house, but it had an awesome backyard with like the best patio and this huge pool, and I really liked it, and I wanted to make something kind of similar. So I spent a lot of time working on the back of the house to try and get that vibe right. It did take me a while, and I will say the backyard was kind of hard with just the base game because there are a lot of things I wanted to use that I just felt like I couldn't fit in. People kept being like, oh, put a hot tub, and I was like, okay, the only one is the base game one, and it's kind of ugly, it doesn't really fit in here. And then I wanted to put like some lounge chairs, but we only have one base game lounge chair that is nice, other one's only plastic, and the colors kind of didn't match with the other furniture, and so it was kind of hard trying to figure out like how the back of the place should look and how to make it also have nice furniture, but I think it worked out and ends up having like a really nice area. It's got a garden, it has all of the patio space, and I did build this on my Twitch channel, by the way. I built it a while ago now though. I kind of have like a big backlog of builds that I made on stream, but I did build this on stream. So if you were there, hello, and if you weren't, you can feel free to follow my Twitch channel. I do stream The Sims like every day on Twitch, so I can link my channel down below if you want to pop in. It's kind of fun to do this sort of thing live because it helps to have like input from the chat and people's opinions kind of weighing in on how we should do things and what we should add, especially when I'm trying to figure out like a difficult thing, like I'm trying to figure out how to fix the backyard when the swatches don't match. It helps to have like people's input from chat because then it's not just me trying to figure it out. So if you want to be involved in that, my link is down below. But for the record, this video I'm probably going to treat much like a podcast today, so don't say I didn't warn you. But I often do that with my speed builds on YouTube, so if I cut in between random discussions of my life this week and also between the build, hey, I gave you advance notice, all right? You know what you signed up for. My videos are always like this. So I've had a really busy week. Oh my goodness. So I got invited to go to South by Southwest this week, which is a really big convention. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's in Texas. It happens in Austin, and it's a pretty big deal. Like, they have a lot going on at that convention. They have like a proper film festival. There's like a music track. There's like so much happening. There's lots of big names that go. Like Lizzo was a keynote speaker on one of the days that I was there. Of course, you know, I got there that night. My plane flew in that night, so I didn't get to see her, but Lizzo was there. Daniel Radcliffe had a premiere at it. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on at this convention, and it's kind of a big deal. Now, the tickets are extremely expensive. Like, the pass that I had, mine was free because I was a speaker, but like, I basically got platinum access to the convention because I was a speaker. If you wanted to buy a platinum badge, it would be $1,900. Oh my God. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what this convention is like, right? I didn't actually really go to the convention. One, I only stayed for a day because I was doing my panel and then I just came straight home. But also I was kind of nervous about being like at a convention with COVID. So I did my panel though. And my panel was with the CEO of St. Jude, the CEO of Tiltify, and MatPat, and talking about like charity streaming and raising money online. The panel was called Leveraging Social Influence for Social Good. And we talked with those people about like fundraising on social media and kind of what me and MatPat do with our channels to fundraise. Obviously, MatPat raises like $6 million for charity. I've raised $1 million for charity, which is a big deal, but I felt like a small fish in a room full of giants with like, you know, the CEO of St. Jude children's research hospital sitting next to me, but it was really cool talking to them. The audience of the panel was kind of a mix of like fans of MatPat and some of my fans, but less, you know, because MatPat. And then also a lot of charities went, like a lot of people that run charities and work with charities went to like hear input on how to build out like a social media presence and how people successfully fundraise on social media, because obviously St. Jude is great at that. And then, you know, me and MatPat are pretty good at that. And Tiltify is how people do that. You know, people make fundraisers on Tiltify. So it was a pretty interesting panel. I was really glad they invited me. I felt kind of like I didn't belong, but that's my imposter syndrome talking, okay? Like, let's be real. I've done a lot for charity on my Twitch channel, so I had a lot to say, I think, but I was really nervous because I don't really do panels. Like, I don't public speak very often at all. I mean, I stream, but like, it's not the same thing, because I'll sit here and I'll stream on Twitch to a few thousand people, but that's not the same thing as like sitting in a room with an actual audience, right? Because I don't see them, you know, I'm just sitting at my desk. I'm talking to a whole lot of people right now in this video, but I don't see you, so it doesn't feel like I am. I'm just making a video in my room, you know, I'm just playing The Sims, but really a lot of people are gonna see it, but it doesn't feel that way. So I'm not really comfortable public speaking so much. So it took me a lot of courage to agree to do this, and I'm really proud of myself for doing it. I think it was a good experience, and it's good practice, and it really went really well, and it was nice to meet them all, and you know, stuff like that. But I did the panel, and then while I was in the panel, the Sims team announced a new kit, because of course they did, on a Monday while I was in a panel. So I went back to my hotel room and filmed a video talking about the kit, and then I couldn't even post it that day because it took like 3 hours to upload in the hotel Wi-Fi, so I posted the next day, but it was just a whole thing, because of course it was. Like, of course that happened. The one time I leave my house, I haven't been anywhere. Like, of course this happens when I try and do some public speaking for the first time ever. They announce a new pack. It's kind of a meme at this point, and it has been for years, where the Sims team keeps announcing things whenever I'm busy. Like, for example, I graduated college, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna take a week off from uploading because I've been so busy with my final semester of school. I've been so stressed out. I'm just gonna take a break and not exist. What happens? Eco Lifestyle comes out, and I had early access to Eco Lifestyle during my finals week. So never mind, forget that plan. Dan is moving to America from the UK. I'm going to help him. We've been waiting 1.5 years for his visa. What happens while I'm there? Cottage Living comes out. Literally while I'm there helping him pack to move countries. I mean, it's at this point, like, I swear they're just trying to figure out my schedule and then being like, okay, Kayla's busy that day, new expansion pack. So just you wait, watch. I'm telling you right now, when I move this summer, once my house is done being renovated, as soon as I say, okay, I'm moving, they're gonna announce the expansion pack. I'm telling you right now. The timeline is starting to add up, okay? It's gonna be a couple of months. It's getting to summertime. They oftentimes have expansion packs in the summer. I'm not looking forward to this. I can already tell. I can see what they're brewing, and it's probably gonna happen this summer. For the record, I don't actually have any info on that. I'm just assuming, and mostly I'm just hoping we get a pack this summer. I don't know for sure, but we had an expansion pack last year in July, so I wouldn't be surprised if there was one this year in the summertime. If they want to wait until like August, that would probably be better for me. But don't base that on me, you know, Sims team. Do what's best for you, but you know, it would be nice if you didn't do that while I was moving. It's just a suggestion, but it's okay. It's okay. Anyway, so I filmed the video in the hotel room after the panel, and then we went and kind of just walked around a little bit, got lunch and stuff. I also went to see the bats in Austin. Here's a fun thing that I didn't know about. There's bats. When I mentioned that I was going to Austin for this convention, my whole Twitch chat was like, oh my god, the bats. You have to go see the bats. And I was like, the who? What are you talking about? Turns out there's a colony of like 1.5 million bats that lives underneath a bridge in Austin, and all of the bats like fly out at the same time together every night. There's like a full-on swarm of bats that comes out. You can't really tell like exactly when it's gonna happen. It kind of varies the time depending on like how hot it was that day and stuff like that. But basically people wait outside of the bridge, like on the bridge, under the bridge, and they wait for the bats to all fly out at night. And we waited for them because we were like, what else are we gonna do? I'm only here in Austin for a day, so I might as well wait for the bats. So we went and we watched the bats. It was quite cool. I don't have any good photos or anything because they were quite small and it was dark outside, but I saw them and it was fun. It was honestly kind of exciting. Especially because we waited for like 1.5 hours or something. We just kind of went out there and sat on the floor and waited. I mean, we weren't doing anything else, so it was nice. It was a pleasant evening, watched the sunset, watched the bats. Then the next morning, I'm flying out of Austin to come back home. And what does the Sims team do? I'm sitting at the airport, literally waiting to board the plane. Like I'm minutes away from boarding the plane to come home. The Sims team announces the story progression update. And not just announces, but releases the story progression update. So no warning. They didn't tell us it was coming. No preparation. preparation for this, they just surprise dropped the story progression update, which, by the way, I'm very excited about. It's a huge update. It's so fun. Like, I've had the best time playing with it. But come on! I never go anywhere. I go somewhere for a day and a half, and on those 2 days, that's when you decide to announce things? This update is probably like one of the biggest things that's happened to The Sims 4 this whole year. And I don't know, it's just a funny meme, the way that this just keeps happening when I'm busy. Especially because I was doing this like huge panel that I was so nervous about, and then this is when you decide to drop these things. I don't know. It did make me giggle. And I still made the videos when I got home, so it was okay. It's not a big deal. It is a funny meme though. That's why I'm telling you about it, because it's funny. But that was my life update this week. I will say, I think I'm proud of myself for doing it. I was really nervous, like I said, and I'm proud of myself for going and doing it. I didn't really do anything else at the convention though, because I was too anxious because of COVID. I mean, they checked vaccines before they gave you your pass and everything, but I didn't really like go into the convention center or stuff like that. Like, the convention is huge, so they've got like different things happening like all over downtown Austin basically, and my panel was in a hotel, and there was a lot less people. I mean, it wasn't like a huge panel, you know, there's not like a huge draw to it. There was probably like 50 people in there versus like when Lizzo spoke. I imagine a lot of people went. Also, Jonathan Van Ness was there, but while I was doing my panel, their thing was on at the same time as mine, so I didn't get to see it, which is very sad because I would have gone. I would have loved that, but I was too busy speaking to the CEO of St. Jude, so I couldn't go. I'm actually supposed to interview him again, like next month. In early April is when it's scheduled for, because they wanted me to talk to him before they like have the St. Jude Play Live stuff happening in May. Because every year I do a big fundraiser for St. Jude in May, like on my Twitch channel all month. I've got some big plans for this year, by the way, but they wanted me to talk to him like before that and like film a video that they could use for promo, and also so that I could put it on my stream. It'll work out for both of us. But I'm glad that I got to meet him in person before doing that, because that's scary. It's gonna be like a Zoom thing, but we got to meet in person first, which I think kind of helps make it easier. It'll be easier to talk to him like for the video now that I've spoken to him once before. You'd think the panel would be worse and more scary, but like the video's one-on-one and it's being filmed, and honestly it probably won't be one-on-one. When I've done things like this before, there's oftentimes like a load of people in the call. Like, I did this sponsored stream with Nickelodeon last year before the Kids' Choice Awards, and I had to like do a mini Kids' Choice Awards thing on the Nickelodeon Animal Crossing island. It was kind of cool, but we had like a bunch of pre-production calls before that happened, and there was like 10 people in them. So it was like me and then Nickelodeon and then like the one person, 2 people who were speaking, but like everyone's just listening in because that's how these companies work. So when I talked to him for the interview, it's probably gonna be like me, him, and like his whole staff. So it's gonna be good to be prepared for that and have met him before. It'll be a little bit less awkward and weird, because those things are always kind of weird. Honestly, that's a really weird part about like the kind of calls that I have for YouTube things. Like, a lot of the time, it's sort of a surprise call. And I mean, like, a company will be like, hey, I have this idea for you, or like, hey, I've got this offer for you. Let me get on a call to tell you about it. So I kind of go into the call not knowing what they're gonna talk to me about. I mean, I have a general idea, but like, I'm not really necessarily prepared for the call because they won't tell me things till you're in the call. And then it's like just me talking, but like 5 of them. And so it's always like a really weird, normally you would want to be more prepared for a call like that, right? And like have more advance notice and more time to like prep for it and stuff. But that doesn't happen very often with things that I have to do. They kind of just drop it on me in a call, and they want to like, because in their mind, I think that most of the time they think that the call is easier than like emailing me. I think because they're like, oh, we'll build a relationship, you know, we'll speak to you face to face. It'll be easier to like convince you to agree to things when I talk to you over the phone. But for me, it makes me feel afraid. And unprepared. But I think that they're trying to like build a relationship, and I think it's gonna make it easier for me to do the calls like that. It just is scary. I see where you're coming from. I get it. I understand you're trying to like make us have more of a face-to-face kind of thing going on here, but I don't know. It's nerve-wracking to say the least. Love you, Nickelodeon, though. Love you so much, everybody. You're the best. Okay, well, my podcast segment is done now. I'll stop rambling about things. Let's talk about the build for a second. So you can see I've pretty much furnished the whole place. We're working on the downstairs now. I spent a lot of time making the bedrooms upstairs pretty detailed. I wanted to have like really nice, cozy, lived-in feeling kids' bedrooms, and there's a couple of them. There's 2 kids' bedrooms, there's 1 parent's bedroom. Downstairs, we've got a big kitchen, a dining room, a living room, and an office space. So it's a pretty useful, functional house. I think that office space could also very easily be a bedroom if you wanted it to. I always say that in my videos, but it's true. Like, those kind of office flex rooms could very easily become like Granny's room, or, you know, your teen's room or something if you wanted them to, because you've got an extra space there. I've just decorated it as an office in this house because it seemed sort of grand. I liked the idea of having a space like that in here, but if you need something else out of it, if you want to put a gym in there or something, I mean, it's always good to have a flex room in The Sims because it's so nice to have like a spot to throw all that junk, because when you have an artist or, I don't know, a scientist, you've all of a sudden got these easels puzzles, and you have these weird like science machines, and you've got, I don't know, a cupcake machine, and where are you gonna put it? So it's good to have that flex room to just throw those things into, because there's so much of it, and a lot of it is huge. And so I oftentimes end up just putting it like in the backyard, but it is nice when you actually have a space for it in the house. And so I oftentimes try and fit that in somewhere. And this office is that. I mean, it's nice to have an office, but you could put a computer anywhere. You could put a computer in a kid's room if you wanted to, and then have a desk there. Easy to put a desk. It kind of fits in anywhere, but it's not so easy to put like that giant microscope or something. You can't just like throw that in the hallway that easily. It doesn't really fit. I also put a chess table because of course I did. It would not be a Simsie build without one. I put those chess tables in like every single one of my houses. I'm sorry. I know I do. I know it's bad. I love them, and they're really useful. Whenever I don't have one, I think I'm missing out, because so often your Sims need to build logic skill, and it's great because it like builds logic, it builds fun. If they play with somebody, they can build social and like relationship. It's just a very useful object, okay? I know it's weird. I don't know how many of you have a proper chess table in your real life house, but it works in The Sims, okay? I promise. It works for what I need it to. You know what I was thinking though? This house honestly could be a pretty good one for a legacy challenge house, because it's so big and it's kind of grand. It doesn't have like a huge lot that it's on, but if you're looking for like a nice grand, like sort of long-term family home, there's not a huge amount of bedrooms in here, but if you're playing with a small family, like I don't want to have like 4 or 5 kids every time either, right? You could totally use this house for legacies. I mean, you could put like 2 kids sharing a room, have a third kid in the other bedroom, and then have plenty of space. I mean, grandma could sleep down here in the office, and then you're set. You're golden. We're getting pretty close to the end of the video here now. I'm just finishing up the living room last. This one is pretty cute. It's not like the best layout. I also kind of struggled to fit in a TV and stuff properly. I really wanted to have a fireplace, but I also wanted to have like 2 couches and a TV, and the fireplaces in the base game are kind of hard to put TVs on top of because they're so high up, and it just, I don't know. I struggled, but I managed to put it on the opposite wall, so the couches are both like parallel to the TV, which is a little bit annoying because you're not like directly facing it from any angle, but oh well. It's one of those like swivel mount ones, okay? Just pretend. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Look, your Sims don't need like direct eye lines to the TV. It's The Sims 4. They'll be fine. They can't even watch it anyway. They'll get over it. Okay, but that is the end of the house. We're almost done here. I'm gonna pop into the game now and give you like a proper tour. It's always easier to see the house when you're actually watching a tour instead of just watching this speed build like zoom around. So let's go check that out. So this here is our nice and cheap 121,000 simoleon base game family home. It's like a month old on the gallery. I built it in February, so I might have to scroll a little bit back, but it looks like this. And I built it for this lot, the 30 by 20 lot called Asphalt Abodes in Newcrest, but you could put it anywhere. So here's the front. There's a really grand walkway. You can see I lined up these little tiny pieces. These are debug items, and I placed them all individually to like line the walkway up the front. There's a ton of landscaping, lots of blue accents, little porch with some little landscaping. In the back though is where the fun part happens, because I managed to sneak in this grill area, a huge walkway, 2 lounge chairs, a giant pool, a hot tub that kind of fit in really well right here. We have a little dining section, and we have a little side garden, and we've got some play space for the kids. So I think I split up the backyard really well. I liked this idea of lining the pool with some tiles. I saw a picture of a house in real life that kind of had that with the brick and the concrete slab sort of combined, and I liked it. It might look a little bit weird in The Sims, but I kind of liked that it looked weird. Like I kind of liked how it jutted out here and stuff. Again, you might hate it, but I liked it, so I kept it. And I did fit a hot tub in. It's so hard to put this item places, but I think it kind of works there. Everybody in my chat wanted a swing set, but obviously it's base game only, so we had no swings. I think this works though. I think it worked for our purposes. So on the inside of the house, you walk straight into this little hallway space. There's just like a little bookshelf and then the staircase. To the left, we've got a huge living room, and it has a little bathroom off of it. So that's the only bathroom downstairs. Living room's got everything you need though. It's got a TV. I ended up putting some music in here. I don't usually do that, but I tried to make it work. I also always used to hide one of these steamboats in like every single one of my builds, and I put one here just for fun as well. To the right, you walk into the big dining room, and then off of that room, we have this little kitchen space. It's got a nice view of the pool as well. You can see the hot tub from here. And then on the far right is that little office area. Nothing too fancy or special downstairs, but upstairs, I loved how the bedrooms looked. So this hallway is kind of a weird shape, but it works out pretty well. There's one hallway bathroom right here for everyone to share. The first kids room kind of has like this blue and pink almost space theme. I tried to use a lot of space items like the rocket ship picture and this movie poster poster. There's like, I don't know, a space light and everything. I tried to sort of mix it up in here a little bit. We got a pride flag. I love how the little like desk nook area looks too. It seems very lived in this corner. And then their older sibling has a bigger room, and I tried to use like a really different color scheme than normal. This one was sports themed. As you can probably tell, I put like a lot of sports, like athletic posters on the walls everywhere. We've got like a bunch of trophies above the bed. I loved how this looked. I'm not sure that it's the best idea to have all those things where you're gonna maybe hit your head, but it looks cool. And they also have their own little desk, and they have this nice little dresser space, some sports on the floor over here, you know. I liked the green theme though. It's kind of bright, almost a little scary, but it works. And then up here is the last bedroom. The parents have this bedroom, and they actually have an ensuite bathroom too. So it's a 3-bed, 3-bath house. Could be 4-bed if you wanted it to. And I'm really happy with it. I love the 2 kids rooms so much. I think it's a good size. I like this house. I'm sorry that it's so expensive, but I think it works. Like I showed you, it's on the gallery if you want to download it. And if you want to watch me build things like this live, I do it on Twitch all the time, so my link is down below. But also, if you like videos like this, I do a lot of build videos on YouTube. Not all of them are speed builds. These ones tend to be a bit more rambly, but I do a lot of like live building on video as well, where I like build it with you instead of build it by myself and then talk over it. So if you like that kind of thing, I can link some of those too. And with that being said, I will leave you now. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. You know what? I needed this. I love a good podcasty speed build episode. It's just fun for me to sit here and talk at you. Get some things off my chest, tell some stories, make a cute house. I mean, it's all of my favorite things all in one, building and talking.